I think I predicted it was going to be today, but like I always say, even if I get these right, it's total luck, and we really don't know. Gosh, I had so many things to talk about: double jeopardy issues, state dismissing the charges, how it affects James Crumbley's case. Just had a whole nice outline to talk about hung juries, but it's okay. All right. So what do we think? John's changing the tile in the title. What do we think? Guilty or not guilty? Vicky said, served on a jury burglary many, many years ago, and some of the older jurors wanted to vote not guilty because it would ruin the kid's life. You'd be surprised how often jury nullification comes into play when jurors are back there deliberating. I've heard many times that they consider it, which is why sometimes defense attorneys hint to it even though you're not supposed to. Verdict reached, stand by. I just noticed the title at the bottom. Nicole, hey, Peter, if she is acquitted of these charges, can prosecution come back and charge her on the lesser charges? No. These facts and circumstances, it would be double jeopardy to put her in jeopardy again for the same set of actions that they have already tried her on and lost. So no, that would be double jeopardy. A hung jury ending in a mistrial would not be double jeopardy, but there are some arguments both ways there. We don't really need to get into it anymore, but thought that was interesting. SC said, voted for hung jury and poll, instantly wrong. Hey, it happens to all of us. 10 to 15 minutes, is that when it's coming down? We'll go ahead and leave it up, and I'll keep answering questions. Azam said, this was what I meant for my question on IG the other day, Peter. I just asked it wrong. Thanks for this discussion. PS, love the Boone snapshot. Yeah. So again, like I said before, I kind of teased it that we're going to be doing some like 1 minute snapshots, giving quick summary overviews of cases. So if you jump into it at a random time and you want to know what's going on, that'll be easy to just check out the snapshot. Ton of new members today, which is always cool. Welcome to everybody. You can check out our members only live that we did yesterday, which was unveiling the new home studio, which, you know, as we discussed, still needs some work. Yellow pill. Me calling my doctor's office. Sorry, I can't make it to my appointment this afternoon. An important meeting came up. This is like my one little break in my trial prep for the day. So we're going to sit, hang out for a little bit, see what happens. Bren Johnson said, I'm scared for the future if it's guilty. All right, John is working on title. Somebody said, you on the phone, RA on the TV, double verdict dipping. Lots of places to watch. Lots of places to watch. Lana, thank you. Izzy just joined what's happening. Seems like we got a verdict. It always takes a little longer than you like once it's announced. Verdict will be read shortly. New update. There you go, Izzy. Ren, thank you so much. Gifting 5 memberships. Melthornal said, I'm scared of the future if it's not guilty. So either way, people are scared of what the future may hold. Listen, we'll deal with it. Whatever it is, we'll keep fighting the good fight, keep trying to make good decisions for good policies moving forward. I think either way, a lot of people learned a lot through this trial. That's what my hope is for this trial and for most trials. Not that Mickey. First time verdict with lawyer, yay. P.S. My vote was instantly wrong. It's 2/3 of the chat was instantly wrong, which happens. That's why I want to read those percentages. It's a lot more rare than you would think. Michael, hard to imagine a world where Casey Anthony not guilty, but she is. We shall see. That's interesting. Different states. Jackie, 6 jurors versus 12. How is that chosen? Usually based on the state or jurisdiction. Sometimes all capital cases have to have 12 in certain jurisdictions. Some states have less. Some have, actually, I don't know if anywhere has more than 12. Jordan, hey, you gave me some good LSAT advice last year. I just got an offer from UT Knoxville Law. Thank you. That's awesome, Jordan. That's crazy to think I've been doing it that long, talking to people, through this camera, that you've already taken the LSAT and now got an offer from UT Knoxville Law. That's awesome, Jordan. Keep me posted. I'm excited to hear how it goes. Thank you, Fiona. Somebody said I'm behind the court stream. So here we go. I'll 2 times it till we catch up. If we're 1 second behind, that's okay. Thank you, Michelle. Peter, do you a guilty verdict would change the way the future cases are handled? I definitely think it could be a slippery slope and open some doors to cases that would not have in the past been charged certain ways. I do. Ashley, done and done. I think we're caught up now. If we're behind again, let me know, and I'll click the 2 times speed. Rochelle, sorry. How lucky are we to watch this live with you / awesomeness love from South Africa? My son just picked the Siri voice from South Africa last night, which I thought was funny. Valvo said, hoping for not guilty. Vicky said the poll's misworded. John's jumping on some social media posts and stuff right now, so apologize for that. Christy, ain't this a good... It's like Minority Report, right? If we could predict behavior, prison would be empty. But we would make mistakes, just like they did in Minority Report. I referenced on somebody else when he made fun of me, like in life, but it was hilarious. I stand by it. I love that movie, by the way. Renee, praying for this jury, no matter what they decide, 50% of the world is going to be angry. I don't envy their position. I do agree, but I really hope, regardless of what we're going to do, regardless of what this verdict is, we're going to talk about it. We're going to see the glass half full. We're going to try to guard against whatever the negatives are that are going to come from this verdict either way. We're going to talk about how I want to talk about it with people, how you guys will probably talk about it with people, since, this chat watches a lot of trials and digs in on this stuff. So a lot of your friends, you probably watch more of it than they do. So, I think we need to focus in. I think this is a great comment, and we need to focus in on how we're going to react and deal with it regardless. Because it's sad either way. A lot of really very real, horrified, damaged victims because of the actions of the shooter and potentially his parents. Summer, yes, there is a verdict that will be read shortly, according to the post on the screen. Thank you, Betty C. Tracy said, not a lawyer, but a social worker here, hoping this comes down before my job interview to be a supervisor. So nervous. You got this, Tracy. You got this. Just be you. And if you're right for the position, you'll get it. And then you'll enjoy it. Try to be somebody else and, probably won't end up liking the fit anyway. Netwoman, other than not securely locking the gun away properly, was there any case law to try the parents other than emotion, not trying to minimize this tragedy? Yeah, it's just the lack of ordinary care, right, which is not defined as locking the gun away. So anything they can point to that they say is lack of ordinary care, there you have it. Is that enough? We're about to find out. Ellen said, hoping it's not guilty. And future, yes. We appreciate John, always. John said the poll is fixed now as well. Lots of South Africans in the house. That's awesome. Yellow Pill said only a $25 late cancellation fee. And you guys crack me up. Gingy Probs, very interesting that there are not guilties on both sides of the political spectrum regarding firearms. Not an arms person, but I don't think the state proved this. I agree. I don't think the whole world is looking at this through a political lens. I don't. Maybe some people are. I think is a big part of this as well, regardless of not even talking Second Amendment stuff. But like even just parenting, government drawing a criminal line on certain parenting or saying this is negligent parenting versus that's not negligent parenting. Some stuff is very obvious. Obviously, if we look at Ruby Frankie, obvious. But where do we draw those lines? I think that's another discussion point. There's so many things going on in this case that make it interesting. Scott, is she supposed to be psychic and interpret scribbles to suggest he'd shoot up a school? Come on, not guilty. I mean, and somebody tagged me on Twitter on another person's testimony that was like self-harm was the more plausible thing that these drawings would point to. Why has she been jailed for 3 years without bail? She has a $500,000 bond set. Probably mostly because she tried to flee. Because I don't really think she's a danger to the community if her only actions was allowing the dangerous person who's now in prison for life. But flight risk was probably the reason her bail amount is so high. And they don't have that kind of money, so that's why they're in prison waiting for trial. Ms. Escobar, if guilty, can courts go back and charge other parents for other school shootings? Depending on the statute of limitations for involuntary manslaughter in their states, maybe. But again, they have to have enough facts and egregious facts, which they believe they do have in this case. Emily, being a mom is so hard already. I feel like a guilty verdict shifts responsibility unrealistically. We can't read minds, an emotional decision if guilty. I get it. And I was talking to my wife about this a little bit. It's like, you can understand, parents who send their kids to school. Expect that you don't let your kid do something like this. But parents with, teenagers who have done things that you don't approve of and wish they would have never done. It's like, what if they did this instead of that? The parenting may be the same, but the outcome could be very different. Maria, will the gag order stay in effect for the jurors? Usually they're allowed, unless there's something I don't know, they're allowed to speak about the case after the verdict if they choose to. They can't be forced to, but if they choose to. Unless, of course, there's some kind of jury interview with post-trial motions, which they can be forced to, I guess. H-Batch, do you think a guilty verdict may lead prosecutors to bring charges against past school shooters? I think it's possible, but unlikely. I think if they didn't bring it before, they shouldn't bring it now, honestly. If they didn't look at it before and think that it was egregious enough to rise to the level to charge, this shouldn't change their mind. Going future, I think, may be different. Michelle, hope the jury is protected. This is a volatile case. Thank you, Peter, for everything you do. A love to you and the chat. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, I agree. I agree. And regardless of what side we're on, we're going to appreciate and respect the jury and what they did. Not that Mickey. Anyone ever notes that verdict normally comes in after lunch? Hey, South Africa. Yeah, it is funny. We joke about that sometimes. Let's order them lunch, and then maybe after they eat, they'll be done. Jenna, us regs aren't used to such a fast chat. Can she be guilty for some charges and not others? Yes, she can be. I would just be very surprised. So will the verdict be guilty or not guilty? 70% of this chat says not guilty. Azam threw a super chat for John behind the scenes. Thank you, Azam. Redtail, if she's found guilty, wouldn't this be a milestone case? Repercussions for the future? Yes. I think the answer is yes to this. Michelle, my heart is with the victims, but I don't think she should be held responsible. He got life without parole. The state didn't prove anything to me. Maybe prove some things, but maybe not beyond a reasonable doubt. And here she is. Here we go. Wendy, me reminding my son 87 times this week that he can always talk to me about anything. Agreed. And she's basically telling her right now, just no emotion, regardless of what the verdict is. We have to be ready for anything. No emotion, basically. My guess is that's what she's telling them. And again, also saying things like, either way, it's not over. We can appeal. This isn't the end. Stay calm. A lot of things like that. And she has to be incredibly nervous, I would think. More people from South Africa. It's so cool. Paula, this is a case where I don't love the defendant, but I also don't think she should be found guilty. Emily, not about the case, but Betty C has a pic of a Dalmatian as her avatar, and I need her to know, if that's her pup, they're freaking adorable. I'm obsessed. This is what happens when we wait for a verdict, I guess. H-Batch, I meant, do you think a guilty verdict may lead prosecutors to bring charges against past school shooters and parents? I think it's possible, but I hope not. I retroactively doing this would make me even less sympathetic to the charges and what they're trying to do here. Doug, curious, with sports betting and live streaming of verdicts becoming super common, do you ever think betting on verdicts will become a thing? Wow. It's like my two worlds colliding there. I assume it already is. You can bet on anything. I don't know if it's on like mainstream sites or whatever, but I would think you can probably bet on this, and that's wild. I never would myself. Shauna, I think either way, many changes are going to come from this. Thank you for all you do. I definitely think there will be changes. Charlotte, classic case of hard cases make bad law if guilty. Ding, ding. David, will you cover the VKM civil trial? VKM, Vince McMahon? Is that what VKM is, civil trial? I don't know what VKM is. It's probably something very obvious, but if it doesn't click automatically with acronyms for me, I'm lost. Nora, hi from Amsterdam, hoping for a not guilty verdict. Cheryl, told my boss that I had another meeting so I could be here live. I feel so bad for everyone. I agree, Cheryl. It's tough. It's definitely tough. Tickled Pink, if everyone watched the Miller hearing, you would vote guilty. I'm not sure why many things didn't come into the trial. He begged for their time. It wasn't admissible. That's the problem, is like we can't take that into account. And the jury can't take that into account. So we can't blame the jury if they vote not guilty for not knowing what happened in the Miller hearing, and they shouldn't consider it. Not only did they not, but they shouldn't legally. Emma, how do the defense not pass out / pee themselves waiting? I'm freaking out just watching. It is your heart's beating out of your chest, basically. SFD. My daughter graduated from FSU in 2023. Passed the bar first time with severe test anxiety. We bond over your streams. She works in government relations for the VA in Tally. That's amazing, SFD. Amazing. All right, let's listen.
Your Honor, calling People versus Jennifer Crumbley, case number 22279-990 at Page.
Good afternoon, Karen McDonald on behalf of the people.
Thank you, Mark Keast, on behalf of the people.
Good afternoon, I'm Shannon Smith on behalf of Jennifer Crumbley, who sits to my left.
All right, are you ready for the jury?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to ask when the jury reads their verdict. After that, I want everyone to remain seated. All right.
Judge, do you want us to sit up with this? Stacy,
It's up to you. It's up to you. I really want the audience to stay seated after when the verdict's read and after that.
It doesn't matter.
You can stay if you want.
Okay. Do you want us to?
By the way, defendants have fallen over and passed out when verdicts have been read in the past. Thank you, Donna. And thank you, Jay Michael, for all the gifted memberships today.
All rise for the jury.
All right, here we go, folks. Anybody else stand up when this happens? I don't envy anybody's position in the courtroom right now. This is the toughest part. Totally out of your hands, out of your control.
Maybe seated.
Nothing else you can do.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been informed that you have a verdict. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Are you the third person?
I am.
Could you please read your verdict?
Individually?
Sure.
Okay. On count 1 of involuntary manslaughter as to Madison Baldwin, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. On count 2 of involuntary manslaughter in regards to Tate Muir, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. On count 3 as to involuntary manslaughter regarding Hannah St. Juliana, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And of involuntary manslaughter against Justin Schilling, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter.
Thank you for allowing me to be seated. And I'm going to ask Ms. Rose to hold the jury.
Juror in seat number 1, was that and is that your verdict?
It is.
Juror in seat number 2, was that?
Poll the jury to make sure this is each individual juror's verdict. And if one was a holdout but didn't want to, push for the other jurors, and they say, I actually think it's not guilty, could be issues, they could send them back to keep deliberating. It could be a mistrial, it could be a hung jury. But that's why they poll them individually and we get to hear them say, yes, this was my verdict.
And is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 3, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 5, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 6, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 7, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 8, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 11, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 12, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 13, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 14, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 16, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We all know that this is one of the hardest things you've ever done. I'm going to ask you to return to the jury room. The 2 remaining alternates are also going to join you, and I'll be with you in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All rise for the jury.
All right, you may be seated. Time as we vote, and I'm considering April 9th at 9 o'clock in the morning for sentencing effect.
That should be fine, Judge. Thank you.
I'm going to back it up. I didn't hear what you said.
Considering April 9th at 9 o'clock in the morning
April 9th at 9 o'clock in the morning for sentencing.
for sentencing effect.
That should be fine, Judge. Thank you.
Ms. Smith?
April 9th at 9 o'clock is fine, thank you.
All right. I'm going to ask everyone to remain seated while the defendant is taking out the court. Right?
All rise. You may be seated.
think that's it. We're just going to make sure that it all clears out. Everything else, the prosecutors are happy, obviously. Big win for them. It's a tough case for them. It was a tough trial and a tough case for them, no doubt. I know they're talking to the victims' families, I believe. They're saying thank you for the work on the case. And I can understand, again, usually what happens in these situations is if a prosecutor and law enforcement says somebody is responsible for what happened to your child and they take it all the way to trial, whether you want to believe it, factually speaking or logically speaking, you get on board, you hope for justice, you hope all the bad guys get convicted for full justice for your child. I can imagine what they're going through. So, from my perspective, totally appropriate and proper for the prosecutors to shoot the end of the case, the victims and their family members. All right. If somebody wants to keep an eye on that for me while we answer some questions and kind of talk through what just happened. A guilty verdict across the board. It was not a surprise that it's the same verdict across the board since her actions were, in fact, the same with regards to all four of the victims. And to me, it was kind of, I don't know if I would say, gosh, I don't know how I feel. I think it was kind of fast, if anything. If I was going to say this was on the fast or slow side to get a verdict, I think I would have put it on the fast side, even though it is, you asked when I thought a verdict would be, I said today. But I can't say I'm surprised. That's why yesterday's video was how would I vote? I can't say I'm surprised. Ainsley, I agree. I think it was a hard decision. Losh, you thought it'd be a hung jury or nullification. It was definitely not nullification. Maxos, I thought that was weird too. So it happened really fast once the jury was there. She's like, "You're the foreperson. Go ahead and read the verdict." It's like Judge didn't look to make sure there was no mistakes. At least that I saw. I don't know if somehow she saw them before. If somebody else checked, they do it different in every courtroom, every jurisdiction. But yeah, and then she read it, and that's it. And Francis, I mean, people are going to have a lot of feelings on both sides about why this verdict came down the way that it did. Falvo, I think a lot of people are saying things like this. He was going to find a way either way. Jay Bird, this question's been asked. No, and I'm not blaming you for asking it. The point is, a lot of people have this question. It's been asked 1,000 times. This is not a charge that is only for parents of children. It's involuntary manslaughter, that their reckless indifference and gross negligence caused directly death. And it was the natural and necessary outcome to their actions. Can we say a prayer together at the end of the live for everyone involved, regardless of the verdict? Sure, we can do that at the end. Mbali, consensus, South Africa loves the lawyer you know family. Half the chat you know is from South Africa, it seems like. David said Vince Kennedy McMahon. Sorry, yeah, I didn't know his middle name was Kennedy, I guess. Joanne, Jennifer Crumbley is practically unrecognizable from the mugshot taken when she was arrested. Hope for not guilty. I do agree that her appearance has changed quite a bit. Husband should try for a plea deal now that there's a guilty verdict. And a lot of people have asked, what's this mean for the dad's case? It is supposed to start trial on March. I had it here somewhere. March 5th. His case is going to go to trial. My guess is they're ready to go and they're raring to go. If I'm him, it's not looking good for him, especially if anybody pays attention to, the news or is watching this in their community or where this happened. And now that they know the mom was guilty, potentially if they talk about the mom being guilty or convicted in his trial at all, like we saw in the Adelson trial, not great, not great. Willow's Angel, the jury just made an example out of this mom. Disappointing. I definitely think it's going to have some ripple effects. How great are they? How significant are they? How large are they? We'll see. Is it possible she just gets probation? Jackie asked. And CCS asked, what will her sentence look like for this? Thank you, Helen. Yes, don't forget to hit that like button. We've got 15,000 people here. It's one of our bigger ones. So hit that like button if you guys could. And if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and the reminder bell. So any videos we come out with, we'll probably still be dissecting this going forward this week. But it's up to 15 years. She's already served, I think, 2 years plus. So it's possible that, her sentence is 5 years and she only has a little bit left to serve. It's possible they hit her with the 15 max. Or if they really want to hit it, because there's 4 counts, it could be 60 years. I would be surprised. If I were going to guess, I would say around 15 years. If I were the judge, maybe a year more than what she has, because she was convicted by a jury. But again, I think that it's a slippery slope. We need to be careful of how this works. But I wouldn't be surprised if the prosecutor asks for 60 years or something huge. Elmer, should things like impact on future cases be a factor for jury decisions? No, it is a factor for legal decisions for the judges. This case has been appealed up. Higher courts have looked at it. It is a factor for them. Public policy arguments, we say interests of justice. Those are the types of things when we talk about how it's going to impact future and other cases. Channeling the heart, Barbara. What happened to the wife of the couple with the boy in the box? I have no idea. I did not follow that trial. Nurse for God. I wonder if James will take a plea deal. I wonder what plea deal has been offered. Well, the husband's jury knows she was convicted. I would try to eliminate that out if I was his lawyer, but in the Adelson case, sometimes you can't. It wasn't really a conspiracy, so it's not a co-conspirator. So I think potentially it'll stay out. I think the jury will not know that the mom was convicted, unless I'm missing something, some legal argument to get it in. Emily, already see people attacking the jury. They did their job with what they were presented. Monday night quarterbacking isn't worth it. Monday morning quarterback isn't worth it. I agree. Let's not attack the jury. If you go look, you can attack me too. If you go look back at my other videos, I said I can understand how this could come down on either side. I would have come down on the not guilty side. It's a tough call for the jury. They're not lawyers. They're not getting any additional explanations. They're having a state and law enforcement tell them this is illegal. This is what she did. These are all the little things she could have done to prevent this, and they came out convicting. I'm sure there was some emotion into it, but it's tough, and they had a tough decision they make, and let's not attack them for it. Let's try to learn and grow as we continue going forward. Kelsey said they are making an example out of her for sure. Lori, I am now officially worried for parents everywhere. This is monumental in my opinion. No parent can predict what a troubled teen will do, speaking from experience. I agree with you. I think it is something we're definitely going to have to deal with. Something we're definitely going to have to deal with on where are the lines. We don't like gray areas. We like to know what we're getting. We know what to expect. We know how to do the right thing and not do the wrong thing. Pete, did you say not guilty yesterday, Peter? Yes, I said that's how I would have voted. That's how I would have voted, was not guilty. Kelly said she's pleasantly surprised at the guilty verdict. Does this mean the school is likely to be held liable if the parents pursue the school? I don't think they can be held liable to the parents for anything. Oh, you mean the parents of the students? I mean, civil liability is, almost locked and loaded against the school for the parents of the victims. J. Michael, not about parenting, was about unsecure weapons, complacency is negligence. Okay, I can get behind more. And there's a new law, I believe, in Michigan now about how you do have to secure your weapons around anyone under the age of 18. So, I could get more behind, weapon security versus, being a perfect parent, or else it's illegal. Jaybird, Peter, I don't understand how they can find her guilty when he was tried as an adult. If he was tried as a child, I could understand how the parents might be found liable, but he was charged as an adult. I understand how there could be a logical disconnect there. Treva, I'd be afraid to have a gun and kids in the home after this. Well, I will tell you I do, and it is locked away, and I don't want to say impossible, but I have done everything I can to make sure they have no clue about it. Kelly D, it's not that she's guilty for what her son did, it's she's guilty for what she did not do. Deet B, 5 to 15 years per charge. Judge decides Concurrent versus consecutive, yes. She can run them all, 5 years straight. Concurrent, so she only gets 5 years, or she can run 5 years consecutively. She gets 20 years, all the way up to 15 years per charge. Tuan Solo. I think she has a good case for appeal. Her lawyer didn't really do the best job, especially on cross. Judge allowed back and forth in front of the jury. Yeah, I do think that some of the prosecutor's arguments in front of the jury on objections will create appellate issues. Camille said after this, build more prisons. Hopefully not. Hopefully we can not have a lot more school shootings. Do you see likely appellate issues? Yes. Yes, I do. Some of them have already been answered, I believe, by the higher courts in Michigan. Jennifer B., she is not a good person. There is no arguing that. There is nothing to indicate she knew he was feeling this way. This is dangerous from a civil perspective, absolutely. But this sets a dangerous precedent. Thank you, Tony. Abby, the defense in her closing gave the impression that social media TikTok was critical against her and her client. Do you think that might have hurt her? I didn't even think about that. So the jury's like, well, we don't want that to happen to us. I think it's plausible. Pesky pirouette. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. 15-year-old can't buy guns. Dad bought the gun for 15-year-old. Mom bought the ammo. None of it secured. Kid did this. It was a family affair, and he used the gun they gave him. Carrie K., please explain this was not about parenting. Irresponsible gun ownership led to the death of the other people's child. So what I'll tell you, Carrie, is I agree with you. It shouldn't be about that. But if you watch the trial, the prosecution absolutely made this about parenting. They talked about her affair. They talked about her riding horses. They talked about their jobs. They did not just talk about the gun security. And if you want my honest opinion for that, I think it's because they didn't have enough evidence to prove the lack of gun security. A lot of it was inferences, but just like the jury asked, can we hear more about how he got the gun? Can we hear from the shooter? I think there was a lack of evidence surrounding that. I think we're filling a lot of holes as we discuss it, but the prosecutor made this a lot about parenting. Scott, was this the only charge or was there a lesser or bigger charge? There was lots of charges up and down they could have gotten. This is the highest charge they thought would fit the facts. Ryan, thanks for the excellent discussion on this case, Peter. Always insightful and appreciated. Thank you so much, Ryan. And thank you to all you guys. I mean, the insightful stuff is responding to your insightful questions that dig deep, see things different ways, bring different backgrounds and different ways to look at the situation, which I think is important. Team R, is it legal to keep your gun unlocked in Michigan? I believe it was at the time. Gringa, I would have voted not guilty. Guns too accessible, not her fault. Lauren, it's fascinating how much the reaction differs between the chat and X comments. What is X comments? Celebration? I don't know. I don't think I just hate when verdicts are celebrated, honestly. It's all sad all around, but I get it. Justice was served and, we can celebrate justice if this was justice. I think everyone is overreacting to think this will set a precedent in stone. Each case will come down to the facts. A parent could have more evidence that they did everything they could and not be found responsible. So I'll just tell you, D. Trug, it's not usually how it goes. Usually the first domino to fall does make it easier to convict on even less evidence in the future. Historically speaking, that's more likely to happen than they raise the bar after this to where you say, oh, I did, just one more thing than Jennifer Crumbley, because that's not going to be enough. Frankly, like I said, I think prosecutors could use other facts to show, see, they did know. Don't mess around with Ouija boards. Fox RN, I think it's not fair to just say bad parenting. Bad parents don't all buy guns. I agree. Leave them accessible and neglect their children. More complex and other parents lost their kids because she neglected hers. There's a lot of factors. It's not just bad parenting. Steph said, regardless, her life is over and has been. It's probably not untrue. How was the journal not hearsay? No cross possible. It was, and that's why most of it was kept out. Sean, if you're an attentive and relatively good parent, that does not assist your child to commit this. This verdict will not apply to parents everywhere. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope you're all right, and I hope that we have no more situations like this in schools ever again. Obviously, that's my actual prayer. I have a kid with mental health issues. Don't buy them handguns. We even something out the knives at one time. And just now, through something hoops for it, went broke for it. People need to parent. I agree. There's a lot we should be doing. Mercy Cat. Hope all the perfect parents with perfect kids stay perfect. She was working 60 plus hours. Parents aren't precogs. I agree. I think we should do our best. That's what I think. Melf. This case is cultural. Where is the line with gun violence? When are parents responsible? I think slippery slope argument is the emotional side. Finding guilty gives voice to the new cultural identity. I definitely think it would be a new cultural identity. Some people want to go there, some people don't. He was not tried, he pled. Correct. Sue. I raised an ADHD son, a fabulous adult today. When he was a child, it was tough. It took great care in raising him. No guns, no knives, just therapy and lots of love. Parents better think twice before texting. Can't talk in a meeting to their child. Again, we can pick out any one thing and make it look or sound bad. You guys sound like lawyers here. So I do get it. There was a lot of context around all of this, but I do think it's a different verdict here. Moki. This verdict watch was intense, just like the Scott Peterson verdict watch we did. I feel conflicted with this. I do think there's some similarities here between this and that, but I think his was more obviously not guilty to me. H. Maz, most things a troubled teen does can be corrected. The gun meant his couldn't be. Fall. If something would have said, we just bought you a gun, you are drawing a gun and saying your life is meaningless, maybe the school would have gone through the backpack. She left out that info, could have changed things. This was part of the state's closing, what she knew that the school didn't know. Tinky, would people feel differently if she was just a friend of his and not his mom? Probably would have felt they had a different duty to him, maybe. You guys let me know in the chat. A-Care. I suspect the jurors identified more with the parents of the murdered children than they did with the parent of the child. I agree. And that's where I thought, the people praising Shannon Smith's closing, I thought it could be effective to some, but I thought it would be a complete turnoff to others. And I think a lot of it had to do with how the jury viewed themselves. And if you viewed yourself as a perfect parent, whether or not you are, I think you would want to convict Jennifer Crumbley even more after that closing. I don't know. Cynthia, can't help but feel JC's been in hell long enough. If people want to set an example to negligent parents, you'd think the trial alone would deter them. Oh, I definitely think, regardless of what the verdict was, this was going to have some deterrence on parents. John S., will parenting now be guilty of disorderly conduct because use their children has tantrums in school, LOL. Again, civilly, there's always been some liability for parents for what their kids do, but criminal takes it up another level. Riri, it was all about her not paying attention to her kid. Lori, amen, Peter. Lifestyle brought in due to the lack of evidence. Sad. It's definitely the generally bad girl rule where they piled on Jennifer Crumbley. Thank you, Shirley, for the gifted membership. And G, will they go after the parents from past school events now? We'll see. We'll see. Christina, not just about guns, lock up your car keys too. Most people don't keep their car keys under lock and key, right? So, I mean, are we adding thresholds and new things that we have to do? Soul Sister, Peter, can you speak to the emotions you would imagine her attorney is feeling? The adrenaline come down. Like, I almost immediately have a headache after a trial. When I come back in the verdict, obviously the verdict's good. It all goes away and it's like you're floating on cloud nine. But when you lose, especially a criminal case like this, where you put so much heart and soul into it, it really hurts. And I would imagine she's feeling extra pressure on the outside. Hopefully not. Hopefully she knows to put the TikToks and the memes and even videos like this in their place where it's like, it doesn't really matter. She's fighting hard for her client. Nobody objected. She didn't get reprimanded by the judge. Do your job, do the best you can. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but probably, deflated. Hopefully she doesn't feel like she wasted her time for fighting the good fight. But it's tough. John, Ethan, the son shooter, was tried as an adult. He pled. Channeling the heart, Barbara. Was local culture argued? In some places, nearly everyone has a gun. In other parts, having a gun is seen as the exception, not the rule. Yes, they did talk about the hunting culture and things like that. Kelly said, never been happier. My kids are grown adults. Wow. Kayla, not sure you should be concerned for parenting going forward. Text back when he begs. Make one doctor appointment to discuss his sadness. Uh, Lock up your gun. Care about that drawing. Just one of those things and no charges. I disagree, respectfully, Kayla. I disagree that if they would have just done one of those things, that there wouldn't be charges. I think if they texted back, I think if they would have made a doctor's appointment that day that they didn't take him to, I think there were a lot of things that they could have done and these charges still would have come. Now, if they would have done all of this, then maybe no charges. Be kind, Tiger. Do you think her testifying hurt her? Should she have remained silent? I don't think so, but you guys would probably be a better judge of that than me. I don't think she hurt her case by testifying. Melissa, in what ways could this potentially spiral out of control with prosecuting parents for kids' actions going forward? Every time a kid commits a crime, if they want to charge the parent, look at all their text messages, look at their work history, look into whether or not they're on any dating apps or cheating on their spouse, anything that's taking their time away from their kid, that if they would have spent more time with their kid, they wouldn't have committed this crime. That's spiraling out of control. Do I think that's going to happen? No, but that would be spiraling out of control. Colby, will this become case law? Judge said gag in place until after the husband's trial. Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Nurse forgot. RA would have voted not guilty just like you, Peter. That's interesting as well. Because I don't think he's a lawyer who has like law background. So I always like to hear, from all of you, what you would do, because, we have some lawyers in there as well, but mostly lay people. So I love this input. Susan, thank you, Peter, for your time spent on this. You're welcome. It's been a really interesting trial that has been educational to follow for sure. Helen, I was leaning towards the Scottish not proven acquittal verdict, guilty, but not beyond reasonable doubt. It would be not guilty everywhere else. Okay, interesting. So the different standard they have. Susie Q, wow, this is a little scary as a parent. Do you see appellate issues here? Yes. There are always appellate issues in criminal cases, but I do think there are quite a few here. Some of which I think have already been answered, though. Charlie, when a parent hands jets to a car on a weekend that leads to a deadly drunken driving accident, parents will go to jail. Thoughts? I think this is something that we're going to have to discuss. Now, again, civil liability, the parents would have always had it in that situation. But what did they know? What did they expect? What did they allow? I absolutely think if they knew they were drinking and still gave them the keys, and maybe they have some DUIs in the past or some tickets in the past, you could get there. But I think you could have before this case. I have no children, nor am I ever going to, so I'm not affected by the emotional pleas. I can see how to come to guilty, but I wouldn't vote for those charges. Amanda, she saw the drawing and texted everyone, obviously didn't see the journal, or she would have done the same. It's a good point. Wonder if change of venue might have been effective. I don't really see that as being effective, but I don't know. Why do you think that, Michael? Rebecca, yes, guilty on all 4 counts, across the board. JT, been here since JD. I don't say much, but I've learned a ton. So thank you for having this channel. I lean toward not guilty. Why no charges for the others involved? Attempted manslaughter. Is that a charge? It can be, but I definitely think they're trying to circle the people they felt had a hand in this for sure. Kat, you don't have to be perfect to give your child attention. I agree. There's some line somewhere, right? And this jury felt like hers crossed the line. Leslie, will this verdict allow Ethan to appeal since it's now ruled that he was neglected and did scream for help? I think he's appealing his sentence. I don't think that this conviction is going to necessarily help his sentence much. Vicky, DA's closing argument would have really turned me off if I was a juror. She made it all about herself. It was nauseating. Janet, news coming out all over Central Florida on conviction. Yep, not surprising to me. I bet when I check my email, somebody's going to say, hey, you want to come on and talk about this verdict? Go Chiefs. One word, accountability. David McKenzie, do you think Nicholas Cruz's parents will now be charged? I don't, for a number of reasons. Shelly's Flowers. Hey, Peter, late arrival here. Did you take a look at the makeup of the jury? I heard it was 6 men, 6 women of all different ages, but I did not. I don't know the answer to that. Falvo, how can parents protect themselves for their children's potential actions civilly? Insurance. again, being a hyper-vigilant parent, as the term was used so often in this trial, and try to keep them away from doing everything dangerous, and teach them, not to fight, not to drive drunk, not to speed, all sorts of things. I mean, just parenting, really. Lindsay, this will be very interesting if the mother is found guilty and the father is found not guilty. Different jury, I definitely think this would go a different way. KP, what a disgraceful verdict this is. What happens when you play on emotions with photos of kids? This must be appealed for the sake of the law. I think that it will be. Nanny B, a statement, 12 individuals from completely different everything. Forgot to type my message last time. Well, I'm glad we got it, Nanny B. John, couldn't a lawnmower be used as a weapon as well? We didn't lock those up. Correct. But is it foreseeable? Again, it would be another argument for the defense that a kid mowing a lawn would not turn and take that and hurt somebody. Alley Cat, I live in gun country. If we suspect a child is mentally unstable, we do not allow them access to guns at all. She knew, she chose not to act. If it was my child, he would be in an institute with what I saw. Lisa, I'm from Michigan, and yes, the jury pool is generally pro-gun. Her peers found her guilty. Shannon Smith facing sanctions for releasing info. I don't know. I can't comment on that. I do not know the answer to this. Sherlock, why did Shannon defend alone such a historical case? Happens a lot. I mean, Mark Eiglarsh did it by himself. My dad has tried huge cases by himself all the time. Evil Oddish, can AM be tried for the boat accident now? I don't know what's going on with that. I saw that I think they gave some of his money to the Beach family when they were splitting it all up. Deb N, if James has some same firm, should he change to new one? Probably don't want to change lawyers at this point. Kathy, chances of winning an appeal, 10%. I don't know, maybe 10%. Ronell, hi, Peter, another South African in the room. I'm amazed at how efficient your court system is. We could do with that. Thanks for your input. Learning a lot about U.S. laws. Appreciate it. And a lot of times we complain about how long it takes and how slow it is, which is funny you said that. It's all about perspective. Thank you, Shades of Gray and Deborah. Rachel, could Ethan speak at sentencing and say he never blamed them or held them liable? If so, do you think that would affect anything? At sentencing, it would be admissible to play his statement. I would play his statement if I was the defense attorney at sentencing for the judge to hear and take into consideration for a mitigating factor. Wicked, I think the fact that they used the word hypervigilant parent hurt them. I agree. I would have admitted not a great parent, but there's no way I could have foreseen this. Welcome, Maureen. Angela, Don Wood's new DB already hit someone with the car. I don't know. We'll see. Netwoman, thank you for the monster chat. Do you think now, with this case setting a precedent of what constitutes negligence to lead to involuntary homicide, what a prosecutor could perhaps go after someone who is a friend and didn't snitch? I'm afraid that we are going to expand what could be now a conspiracy that is not a conspiracy. So one of the scariest parts about this is when it comes to overcharging to force plea deals. Research shows tons of people that are innocent, that didn't commit the crime, plead guilty for fear of whatever the sentence is going to be. So now, if they have something else going on, are they going to add an involuntary manslaughter charge, 15 years in a lot of different jurisdictions to get them to plead to 2 years on some other charge? Or force them to get some plea deal, because now if they go lose, they could be looking at 15 years. That's something I'm worried about as well. All right, I'm going to hit a couple more questions. I got to get out of here, though. I got about 2 or 3 minutes left. T. Davis, children of all sorts of parents commit crimes every day. Where do we draw the line? Very slippery slope indeed. If I was dad, I'd be 1000% bench trial. That's interesting. Both sides have to agree, though. The state can demand a jury trial. Riri, our parents taught us right from wrong. Well, good. And I think they should. Kate, her own lawyer opened the door to her personal information. Yeah, there was a couple things I didn't think were great. Stephanie Uhas, I'm scared for parents everywhere now. Again, I don't think it's going to spiral out of control like we talked about, but there is going to be a ripple effect. I just don't know how far it's going to go. All right, I have to take off now. You guys were amazing. Hit that like button for me if you would. The last couple have gotten over 10,000. Can we get this one to 12,000 likes? If everybody hits the like button that's watching now, that would happen. And also make sure you all subscribe. We'd love to have you on future videos, answer questions, get your comments in, get in the chat. It's the best chat on YouTube. Gina, the parents purchased the gun. The parents didn't secure the gun. If Ethan had to break into the safe, the parents wouldn't have been charged. I don't know. They even mentioned as part of their negligence that the lock to the safe was only 0000. So I will say a prayer, Rachel, off air for the families and everybody involved. I hope you guys will too. Peter, is Case Snapshot going to be a new series? I don't know about a series, but I am going to do it on a bunch of the cases that I am following, Azam. Jennifer B., my heart goes out to the victims. I by no means am minimizing their loss. I just don't think the state made their case. We've had so many challenges with our teenagers, especially post-COVID. I agree. It's tough. It's a tough one. And again, we're going to respect the jury, appreciate the jury for doing their duty. I believe they went in there. They did their best. They talked about it and they came down with what they thought the right verdict was. So I appreciate you all. I'll be praying for them, the victims, everybody involved. Hopefully you guys out there will continue to join us. I appreciate everybody that comes, gives their opinion, takes their time to chat and ask questions, hang out and watch the stream. Till next time, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And don't forget to check out the Lawyer You Know podcast with new seasons dropping every quarter. If you have a case you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, The Lawyer You Know.